Motivation doesn't start with information. It starts with relevance. Once jurors feel that relevance, the facts finally have some place to land. Welcome to the Foster Your Voice podcast with me, Christy Foster. After a 30-year career in music and theater, I never imagined I'd be coaching trial attorneys. But once I entered your world, I quickly realized how critical and underutilized voice is in the courtroom. The truth is, you don't win trials with brute strength. You win with your voice. I'll give you tools to unlock your voice so you can communicate not just with purpose, but on purpose. If you want quick action tips to help you stay calm and in control, keep jurors engaged, and inspire your listeners to action, all through the power of your voice, you're in the right place. I'm Christy Foster, and I'm here to help you foster your voice. Hello, Foster fam. Hey, welcome to episode 50 of the Foster Your Voice podcast. This is the final episode of the first season of our weekly chats. I can't believe it. Now, we will have one more bonus episode next week as I do my annual recap and a review, as well as set some intentions. I have a whole process, and I'm going to share it with you next week, so be sure to tune in for that. I look forward to doing it every year, and I can't wait to share it with you. So, as we wrap up season 1, take just a second to leave a 5-star rating, and especially if you're on Apple Podcasts, just leave a quick review to let me know what you've enjoyed, what your takeaways were, and maybe something that you'd like me to tackle in season 2. I'd love to hear from you. So if you'd rather send it to me in an email, that's awesome. That's awesome too. So you can email me at christy@fostervoicestudio.com. Now, today we're going to talk about motivation and, well, kind of two branches of it. But before we do, I just want to share an experience from when I went to the dentist the other day, and I want to get your opinion on it. Okay, so first, let me say, I like my dentist office real well. I don't mind going. I don't mind going to the dentist at all, let alone this office. It's fine. I know lots of folks who just really find it traumatic, and even me mentioning going to the dentist has some of you clenching and all traumatized. So sorry about that, but I'm fine with it. So once we get into the actual cleaning, everything's fine. But first, there's kind of this preamble and the obligatory chit-chat section. And that's what causes me a little anxiety when I go to see my dentist. Now, don't get me wrong. I expect there to be some small talk. I never really like it just because it's kind of counter to my introverted nature. And I just don't like being superficial or keeping things superficial. But I know there's sound research and logic behind the role that it has in society and in community formation. So that's fine. These are low stakes, brief interactions that can provide a sense of connection and belonging right away. So great, fine, I get it. And especially in this age of digital communication, small talk lets us kind of practice conversation, true in-person conversation, and kind of keep those skills sharpened. So it's not that I have to participate in small talk. I mean, I do expect did the windstorm keep you up last night? Or can you believe it's almost the end of 2025? Where did the year go? Like, I expect those. But for some reason at my dentist office, I feel a lot of pressure to go a little deeper, a little more personal, and a little deeper level of honesty when they ask questions like, where are you traveling this summer? Or what kinds of events are you attending this holiday season? I don't know, they just seem very specific. And I know they're just warming things up and trying to get my mind off of the teeth cleaning, but I don't even know your name. And now I have to admit to you that This holiday season, I made conscientious choices to just limit my attendance at things and set some boundaries so I could preserve my energy and my peace. And that for 30 years, I've been participating in concerts and shows and attending other people's concerts and shows. And this year, I decided it was the year for me to just usher in the all is calm vibe and to give up on the hustle and bustle and the obligations. It's not that I don't love people. I'm not a humbug in my spirit, but I'm tired and I give a lot of myself year round. So this month, I just want to rest. That feels like too much. Is that too much? Did I share too much? And then the how about you feels obligatory. So I just need my teeth cleaned. I'm not nervous. I don't need a social exchange to set me at ease. So tell me this, how do you do with small talk? I'm sure I'm just overthinking it, but hello, have we met? I'm an overthinker. But seriously, tell me, what's the response I should give with those questions? Hit me up by email or send me a DM and help me reframe my mindset around this whole small talk thing, and then bring on the chit chat. Hey, real quick, if your jurors look confused when you say liability, standard of care, or damages, they're not tuning out because they don't care. They're tuning out because they don't speak law. I've put together a free guide called Top 20 Legal Terms to Avoid and What to Say Instead. It'll help you simplify your language without losing credibility, so your message actually lands. Download it now at fostervoicestudio.com/top20 or click the link in the show notes. All right, back to the episode. Today I want to talk about motivation. More specifically, I'm going to break it down into two paths. What motivates a juror to make a decision and declare a verdict, and how do you get motivated? And the reason I want to look at both is because jurors don't get motivated in a vacuum. They're responding to you, your energy, and how grounded and intentional you are. But let's think like jurors for a minute. They are compelled to be at jury selection. Maybe some of them, like me, would be interested on some level, but most are uncertain, are trying to figure out how they'll accommodate their service if they're chosen, how disrupted their life will be, and wondering for how long, and they're likely feeling a little out of sorts. This is a new situation. They're wearing clothes that are fancier maybe than they'd like to be. They don't know any of the expectations. So far, they've been herded around and given very little information. They have no idea what, if anything, they will be able to contribute to this process that's called the justice system. So before a single word of evidence is presented, most jurors are already managing uncertainty, discomfort, anxiety, and a low-grade sense of inadequacy. And then you start talking about premises or product liability or federal motor carrier safety regulations or hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. Words they've never heard and never needed to use. It's not that they don't care, but they don't have a foot in the door. What you're talking about and what your case is about doesn't relate to them at all. Or at least they don't think so. They've never had a conversation with their girlfriend over coffee about facet joints or retaining wall construction. So this isn't about jurors being incapable or unwilling. It's about their brains having no reason to grab on. So how do you get them on the same page with you? How do you make this matter to them? They are far more likely to engage and remember your case facts if they can connect to it in some way, and then they'll be motivated. So what do you have to do? You have to make the case not about the specific facts. Not because facts don't matter. Of course, they absolutely do. But because facts only land when they're attached to meaning. Sure, the facts are going to be covered in great detail, but the trial has to be anchored in their values, their experiences, and their sense of justice. For instance, if your case involves a wrongful death at a construction site, not a whole lot of your jurors will have ever been on a construction site or worked with general contractors or subcontractors or heavy machinery of any kind. So you have to expand your case to anchor in the principles around general workplace safety or expectations around safety in any commercial location. The dangers of your specific location have to represent the dangers that anyone could encounter. Now the case isn't about a job site. It's about what we all expect when we move through shared spaces. Tap into their values for health and safety of themselves or their loved ones as a bedrock of a viable community. And once you've made that shift, this is where motivation really starts to take hold. Make sure you frame your points in ways that resonate with their shared humanity and their sense of civic responsibility. Jurors need to feel emotionally and morally invested, and when they do, they'll not only remember your argument, but they'll advocate for it and for your client during deliberation. Tap into their why. Why does this matter? How does this impact me? What do I gain from this? How do I benefit? This isn't about jurors being selfish. It's about being human. Our brains prioritize what feels personally relevant. So be sure to connect your case to the principles that relate to the greater community, not just to your client. Motivation doesn't start with information. It starts with relevance. Once jurors feel that relevance, the facts finally have some place to land. Okay, so that's how you motivate jurors, how they process information, what helps them stay engaged, what allows them to move toward a decision instead of shutting down. But now I want to pivot, because before jurors ever get motivated, you do. And if I'm being honest, this is the part that trips most of us up. We talk about motivation like it's a feeling. I'm guilty of this. It's like something that will show up after the conditions are perfect. We'll feel ready, inspired, clear, confident, energized, and then we'll act. But that's not how motivation actually works. Over the last year especially, I've been paying close attention to what keeps me moving forward. Not perfectly, but forward consistently. And one of the biggest things that has helped me is something called soundtracks. Now, this is a John Acuff creation that I love all of his teaching and all of his work and all of his books. Soundtracks are these short, simple, kind of one-liners that play on repeat in my own head, especially when I don't feel like doing a thing or I'm feeling discouraged or I just need a reframe. Some of these that I've latched onto are from John directly, but others are just things I've picked up along the way, and you have them as well. They're not hype phrases. They're not Pinterest quotes. They're anchors, okay? So I want to share a few of mine with you, not because you need my soundtracks, but because I want you thinking about what you're rehearsing internally when motivation feels low. So the first soundtrack, action breeds creativity. ABC, action breeds creativity. This one has saved me more times than I can count. because when motivation dips, the story we often tell ourselves is, I don't know how to do this yet. I need to think about it more. I'll start once I feel clearer. But clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. Action breeds creativity, not the other way around. This is a real challenging one because I'm a perfectionist. I admit it. And that's why I need this soundtrack. When I remind myself of this, that action breeds creativity, it takes the pressure off getting it right and puts the focus back on just getting it moving. One small action creates information. Information creates options. Options create momentum. Momentum creates consistency, and consistency is how new habits and new neural pathways are actually formed. So action breeds creativity. The second soundtrack, some is better than none. This one is deceptively powerful because when we're tired, overwhelmed, or stretched really thin, that all or nothing mindset creeps in fast. If I can't do it fully, why bother? If I can't give it my best, I'll just wait. But waiting is what drains energy. Movement creates it. Some preparation is better than none. Some vocal warm-up is better than none. Some intention is better than none. Some work on a project is better than none. And this matters because motivation doesn't grow in leaps, it grows in reps. Tiny repetitions still count. The third soundtrack, growth is the goal, not comfort. This one is especially important for high achieving professionals because comfort feels good. It just doesn't change anything. Growth feels awkward, unpolished, sometimes even a little embarrassing. It's discomforting. And when you're expanding your voice, your courtroom presence, your leadership, growth will absolutely feel uncomfortable at times. This doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're doing it on purpose. When I remind myself that growth, not comfort, is the goal, it reframes resistance as a signpost instead of a stop sign. And the fourth soundtrack is you don't feel motivated, you practice motivation. This one might be one of my favorites because motivation isn't a personality trait. It's not something you either have or you don't. It's a practice, just like breath, just like vocal technique, just like presence, just like your opening statement presentation. You practice motivation by choosing the next doable step, by keeping promises to yourself, by showing up imperfectly and staying in the process. And the more you practice it, the more accessible it becomes. And when you're practicing motivation for yourself, you're also modeling regulation and steadiness for the people listening to you, including jurors. So, as you think about motivating jurors, I want you to also ask yourself, what soundtrack am I playing when things get hard? Is it moving me forward or is it keeping me stuck? Because the same nervous system you're trying to regulate for jurors is the one you're living in every day. Choose soundtracks that support movement, that create momentum, that keep you in the game. That's how motivation is built, not found. Okay, that's it for today. And that's the end of season 1. Thank you for coming along on this journey. I love our weekly chats. And don't forget, next week there is a bonus episode coming out as I wrap up the year and project into 2026. You don't want to miss it. I'd love to have you tune in to listen. Until then, keep fostering your voice. Thanks for pulling up a seat with me today and for being part of the Foster fam. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, go ahead and leave a review or a comment so I can give you a shout out on a future episode. During the week, you can find me on Instagram at Foster Voice Studio, where I'm dropping little nuggets of vocal technique and leadership wisdom. You can also join my mailing list by visiting fostervoicestudio.com or by clicking the link in the show notes. I'll send a weekly vocal tip every Tuesday directly to your inbox. Until then, keep fostering your voice.